Okay, so I'm participating in my first game jam. I didn't film yesterday, which was day 1, so this is day 2. And the original plan for the game, I decided to, instead of using my Notion template that I've been using for other games, I opted to use just a normal document, digital document, to plan everything out. And that kind of actually worked better for me because it didn't get super bogged down in the details in the same way as I usually do. But I'm not trying to make a game document to then share with other people. This is purely for me because I'm doing this solo. The original plan was for this to be 2-dimensional using the Godot engine because that is the only one I am very familiar with at this point. I've uninstalled Unity and Unreal months ago, and I've just been messing around in Godot for the last year or so. I'm not entirely new to it, but this feels like the first real pressured thing. Yeah. It's been interesting so far because, like I said, I originally wanted to do 2-dimensional, but my plan for how I wanted the enemy to work made it to where it needed to be 3-dimensional. But maybe what I might do is try and get the rest of the game working and then come back to that version. Because I wanted to implement mini games, which I've never done before, and I wanted to have an enemy light beam, essentially, which I've never done before. There's a lot of I've never done before type things in this game. There are a few things where I was able to take code from another project and slap it in and rechange variables and stuff, rename functions. But the core of how you would program it is the same, and it's sort of like, oh, I've done this before, let me just quickly reference, okay, I can copy and paste this thing into here, change these things, replug this, solder that, however you want to think about it. The art is going to be difficult for me because I'm not very well versed in animating in 3D, so it's not going to look as cool probably as I would like it to. But this is a game jam. It's just supposed to convey what you're going for, essentially, from my understanding of what a game jam is. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and show you the progress I've made in the engine. This is what I have to show for day 1 and a little bit of day 2. Day 2 was mostly spent on making the cookie work. Because the game is called Crumb, and what you're doing is, well, the theme is risk it for the biscuit. And so it's a platforming game where you're going after crumbs and cookies. I made it like this. Originally I wanted to do 2-dimensional, but I have this thing. I have it to where the baker is looking for this little guy. You're the little guy going after the cookies. And see, it counts up 1 cookie. But the thing that I'm struggling with the most at the moment is this light that comes through is supposed to be looking for you, and I have it to where if the raycast goes through, it should capture you, is the thought. But I don't know how to do that, so I don't know. But that's what I managed to figure out how to do yesterday. And then, like I said, with the cookie, I changed up the material today to make it emit light a little bit, so it was just brighter in that really dark scenario. Technically it can rotate and bob and stuff, which is really cool. But whenever I try and play it with either the animation player or through a tween, which you can see here, it either doesn't work or it sits in the wrong place on the testing screen. But earlier today, I figured out that one of the things I can do is mimic what I've done in another game called Hide and Seek, which is going to be a mini game for one of my main games that I'm working on, which is an adaptation of a board game that I made when I was in college. Side note, I need to use marker points, and that should probably help things move how I want them to move because they will instantiate at that location. So we'll see how that goes. I'm trying to use the method that I just learned about from the guy in this video. And in that video, he talks about a concept of chopping down the biggest tree first. And I realized that that is essentially the same thing that my mom always says, which is eat the frog first. And all of that is to say, take the hardest, most difficult, the thing that you really don't want to do task, and do it first. Now, I went over and went into Blender and made the cookie because I needed something else to do with my brain while it processed some things. And yes, this is my logo. I'm trying to get it to work how I want is difficult. Because I don't know what I'm doing. I don't really usually use raycasts. I haven't used raycasts since I first forayed into video gaming, specifically in Godot, when I was following a tutorial. And I could get that to work. And maybe that's what I'll do is I'll go back to that and see if I can modify some of the code from there. If so, I will have a link to that series that I picked him from there. But yeah. So far that is the progress from day 1 into day 2. So now we're on day 3 of the GameJam. What really feels like day 2 for me of like real progress, but it's technically day 3 because I did start on day 1. I initially thought I wasn't going to get much done today or yesterday, but then I had this huge sprint in the evening that went until 2 in the morning, which I'm sure is normal for game jams. It's not normal for me. I think it was almost 3 in the morning, honestly. But why don't we go over to my desktop and I will show you the progress I made. So take 2 of explaining what I did yesterday, because I just had a full-on rant and then noticed I never hit record. So that is a lovely feeling to the start of day 3 of this game jam. So this is what I did to the test level. I'm sure between the iteration from yesterday and today, there's not too much progress, but there's a lot under the hood progress that's been done. But I added this for the win condition for the level. And I added in a dead zone, so that way if you like don't make jumps and stuff, there's a dead zone to catch you. I need to figure out how to have it to where it's not absolutely instant, but that there's like a quick like there's a slight delay to running the functions. I might just add in script timers for like a second or 2 before it runs the rest of the thing, because I want it to not feel so abrupt between things. But I know with like Mario platformers, it's not abrupt because the whole thing pauses and then there's the little animation, and that's how they get away with not having it be abrupt, but it is technically pretty abrupt. So I might play around with some of those ideas. I added in this black object here that you see, and this black object, and that is a hiding shape. So it lets you know that you can hide there. And one of the ways that it does that is I created a global variable called player hidden, and I did a body entered and body exited on the hiding structure. When you go in, there is this shape that you collide with, not collide with, but that you enter, and as the player, it allows you to hide from the light that's going by. So it's looking for if body is player and is player hidden. If player is not hidden, then they get captured. Right now, it's just immediate into the game because I haven't implemented any of the mini games yet in that whole system. But yeah, and I think I might scope back on how I'm gonna do the mini games. Again, we'll see. But yeah, I'm learning so much doing this. Well, not so much, but just like taking the things I already fully understand and implementing them rather than trying to do things entirely out of my base of knowledge, which is really cool. And then I wanted to show you the UIs that I have. I did this, which is the Impressionism brush in Krita, which comes with Krita. Um, that's all that, and of course, my little cookie. I wanted to add that into the thing. But this is for if you win, and then if you lose. I love this piece personally. Like, I kind of want to get it printed personally. I know that's like really weird maybe, but I absolutely love this art piece I did. It's been a while since I've loved an art piece I did. Um but yeah, I could just sit and stare at this one. But I did it for the you lose, the baker caught you, and it's supposed to be the light that they're using, so I might change the enemy light from a spotlight to a point light maybe. And it'll get the same thing across, depending on not point light. Which light would it be? Omni light. It would be an omni light. Point light is for 2D. So I might change it to the omni light. So that way it feels more like it's a candle. Now that I've established that maybe they're using a candle to look versus a flashlight. And then the level selector, this is just art from a different game. Oh yeah, and the main menu looks like this right now, though I just redid the art so that way it better fits the canvas. But level selector is using art from a different game that I've been working on. This is actually based off of a board game that I made back in college that I mentioned yesterday, called Death the Game. And I'm still trying to convert it to a video game. So that's why I'm easily able to bring in the art assets into Godot. Sorry, it is 7 in the morning, almost 8 in the morning. I did not sleep for very long. So I is tired, but I can't sleep anymore. I might take a nap in the middle of the day though. Yeah. I think that's the dead zone I did. Did I I added emissions to the platforms to make it more obvious about the shadow places. And I think there might be a way to make it to where when the object that is not player collides with the area 3D instead of the raycast. I think I explained that already, that I went with a area 3D instead of a raycast. Because that works a whole lot better, and I came up with that at dinner. I spent most of the day thinking I wasn't going to get much done, and then boom, I'm awake till 2. Or 3. Anyway, but I'm sure there's a way to make the override material change. Like give it a basic material and then use the override material switch or something maybe. I'll look into it, but I don't want it to always look dark, but if that's how it has to be, that's how it has to be to indicate, oh, this is a shadow space. I still haven't implemented the background of anything, so, but if I stick with these very basic shapes, I'm gonna make it out of basic shapes probably. Though I could implement the impressionism stuff. We'll see. We'll see how far I get with that. I want to get all the levels built out first and the mini games built out, which I think I'm going to focus on mini games today, and then tomorrow on level creation. Yeah, because right now I have it scoped at 5 levels, but if it gets to be too tedious, and I feel like I won't make it, then I'll bring it back to like 3 or 4 levels. But I want it to get obvious about things. So yeah, that is what I managed to get done on day 2. So it is day 4 now? Yeah, because yesterday was day 3, reporting on day 2. It's day 4. I'm reporting back on how day 3 went. I followed a tutorial for how to make a rhythm game because that was the easiest way in my head to implement some stuff that I wanted for a mini game. I didn't specifically want a rhythm game, but again, it was the easiest thing for me to be able to research / find a tutorial for, and then be able to implement. It still has a few kinks in it that I'm not sure why. So I'm putting it on the back burner, and if it doesn't get implemented, it doesn't get implemented. But I will show you what it is. I also made music for it. Not a lot of music, it was literally just timpani hits, spread out in the way that I thought made sense for what mechanic I wanted. So even though it's a rhythm game, you're only using 2 of the keys, because yes, I have mapped, or I have it set for up, down, left, right, but I don't have the keys mapped for up, down, or back, forward in the 3D space. Those are left blank because I just want you to use left, right, because it's a side-scroller type platformer. So the more I'm looking at things, the more I'm like, oh, I could have made some of this in the 2D space rather than 3D. And if I have enough time, I might remake some stuff over there, which I think could be cool. So yeah, we'll see what happens. It's day 5, reporting on day 4. Disappointment is the easiest way to describe what yesterday was. I spent another day following a different kind of tutorial, 2 tutorials, that ultimately aren't working. One of them, I literally just put in the code that they had from their thing, and it still didn't work. So I don't understand. And that evening, I was talking to my mom, and I was telling her that I was feeling disappointed and was working on the mini games again, and it wasn't working, and how I was trying to do the eat the frog first method, and she was like, no, the main game is the frog. That's the biggest frog, is getting the main components working. And I realized she was right. So today is going to be focusing on trying to get what's left of the UI bugs fixed and making the levels. I did manage to do a few cool things there. I'm not going to bother showing you everything I did yesterday because there's not much to show. But, yeah, I did manage to get a platform to move left and right. I've just got to get it to understand the forces of the player on it, so it moves the player rather than the player having to move along with it. But there's plenty of tutorials on that, I know that, so yeah. Disappointing. But at the end of the day, I still did get some things done. I changed how the light source works for the enemy by changing its type, and it works a lot better. So instead of a instead of a cone, it's a point light. And then I changed how the platforms work, so you're no longer being scooted off the edge because of the rigid body forces that are moving you. I remembered that the CSG box is a thing, or the CSG objects are a thing. So yeah. I'm going to try and make a platformer to the best of my ability. That is fun. We will see. Maybe... yeah. I don't know. I don't know. I don't think I'm going to place very high. I didn't expect to even really place anywhere. But I guess I had started building up in my head that there was a possibility I could get good reviews. But not with this. Not with just your run-of-the-mill platformer. So, I'm sorry if I sound weird today. I woke up with part of my throat swollen, so. But this is day 6, reporting on day 5. Day 6 will be my last day, so I'll report on it on the Saturday after submission, if I don't do it later tonight. I completed making all the levels in their base states. I still want to change up maybe how the player looks if I can today. UI is still having some issues. But I made it in some ways a little easier to tell when the light is coming, because I had my brother play test, and he was like, okay, I'm ready to quit now on level 2, which is technically level 1, because it was too hard. So I gotta do more to introduce some of the mechanics to the players. I don't know if I want it to be like on-screen things or what, but yeah. I'm gonna figure that out today as well. I'm so confused as to what day it is versus what day was yesterday. All I know is that it's the last day for me to work on this. Yesterday, I updated the save load system. Got it to where it saves everything, which is good. So it saves that you completed levels. It saves the amount of cookies and crumbs you had. I might need to finagle how that system works, because right now you can exploit it, which would then just give you infinite lives. Oh, yeah, you would just end up getting infinite lives, because it's also saving how many times you've been caught. And right now I have it to where cookies to caught affect each other. Or not each other. Cookies affect caught level. Which then affects lives. And if you get enough cookies, you could essentially have infinite lives. I have notes over here. I need to work on the loading system. It's not working at all. I have followed multiple different tutorials. I've looked back at previous games that I have done. Turns out I never had a working save load system, I think. So, no, I did. So I need to look at that, see what I did. I think I used resources. And I didn't want to use resources. I just want to use a JSON file, but we'll see what happens. I know the person I'm using right now is Godneer, who's very big in this space. Their tutorials are really good. So I'll show them on screen and leave a link in the description to them, as well as to the save load, because I know it works. They go into how to make sure it works, the best way to do it, that whole thing. I need to polish up the level designs because my playtester, my brother, said that they feel janky right now and that they're not level with each other, so I need to go in and actually use the grid system and make it, versus just like freeform placing of blocks and stuff. I wanted to do so much more with the blocks and with the character and all this stuff, and with the few things that are still giving me issues, I don't know if that's going to happen. There is music. It needs leveling. It is far too loud right now. But it is supposed to be a classical piece that gets loud, so it's like, I don't know. Oh. And then the UI is still giving me trouble. It is previously, it worked only in, so I finally figured out what the problem is in general. It's that going from game to this screen doesn't work. So there's something about the game that is not being unloaded causing this to happen. Because if you play directly from that scene into the game, it works. Or if you go from UI to UI, it works. But if you go from game to UI, doesn't work. So I've got to figure that out. I did add instructions to the test level, so that's good. I'm very proud of that. I had to look at a previous game I'd used to remind myself that I needed to use sub-viewports. And then how sub-viewports work, I had to look that up and then be reminded, oh yeah, I saw that in the version that I pulled the sub-viewport from in the first place. If I just looked a little closer, I would have seen exactly what I need to do. So I've got that working. I updated the global timer to work with the musical piece that is playing. So you have until that musical piece is done to finish the final level. Or each level lasts the musical piece. Or the classical piece. If you do not finish in that time, you will be caught by the baker. Because that is it. You get 6, almost 7 minutes to finish. That's a lot of time for most of these levels. Now, level 4 and 5, yeah, you're going to use a lot of time waiting. Which is why I really like that I'm using a classical piece. Because it raises the stakes in some ways. Just because it's got good flow to it, and if you're really getting good at the game, you're moving along with the piece. It all unintentional, but it works really well, and I'm very happy. It's one of my favorite classical pieces. It's Danse Macabre, or Dance Macabre. I'm not sure which way to pronounce it. It might be Dance Macabre. Anyway, I'm sure all are correct, and depending on where you are. And then the options scene to mess with levels and stuff like that originally was its own scene, but it wasn't working. So I added it to the player and moved the code to the player node, which is different from the player controls. So it's still separate scripts, but it's all still on the player. It's a whole thing. And then I still need to work on the global, not global, because that's its own script, on the scene switcher code that allows you to try a level again. Because right now it doesn't work. It just puts you back into the game exactly where you were. It doesn't start you over. Oh, I need to add that. There's no code that places the player. It just starts the level. Okay, so that's what it is. Okay, I think I figured out how in general to go about fixing that. So that's good. Thank you again. I think this is the third time of me thanking you for being there for me to talk at. So, I'm gonna go get programming. It is almost 11 a.m. here where I'm at. I have 18 hours in theory to finish this game. I know at least 7 to 8 of those hours I do not have, so I have about 10 hours left. Because I will not be hopefully awake when the system ends, when the GameJam ends. So I have less than 10 hours to finish fixing everything and get it submitted. So, wish me luck. I hope I get this done. So, to wrap up the Brakeys GameJam that happened oh so long ago now. I got it submitted. Yeah, that was back in August. Um, yeah, that was back in August. January. Was that? That's how long it took me to get this video together. But I posted it with about 10 hours left to go. So 9 hours and 56 minutes before the deadline. I did not place at all, really. My overall score was just over 2,000. I only got 3 ratings. But that's cool. That's fine. I'm happy for the ratings I got. Um, I think there are definitely some things I could have done a little bit better. But overall, I am proud of what I did. Now that I've had some space away from it. If you would like to give it a look at, I will leave it in the description below. And I think I have it to where you can. It's just a download. It's not in editor, so you'd have to download it. Obviously, it's free or whatever. But if you want to give it a look at, I would highly appreciate. So yeah, I will see you guys next time. I hope you had or have a wonderful day and that you get to or got to eat something delicious. Bye.